ado, we have Janique from Human Resources here to talk to you very basically about retirement plans. She's going to run maybe about 15 minutes and answer some questions. And then I'm going to talk to you a little more about personal financial planning, asset allocation. The subjects that were suggested by the previous group were asset allocation, which is something you need to know about, and lifestyle investing, in other words, life cycle investing, in other words, where should you invest when you're certain ages and that type of stuff. So that's kind of what we're going to go over. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Janique, and we'll take it from there. And you need to always talk into them.
Yeah, apparently if I just carry it like that, it will work. From what I was told, I don't necessarily need to, because I may want to sing into it. So anyway, hi there. As Helen mentioned, my name is Janique Collin, and I work in the benefits department. Some of you seem to be familiar, but I was in the class, also the first class. But anyway, so I'm going to be covering some of the retirement plan that we have here. Everybody here is an employee, right? Just making sure. Okay, so that you understand. Okay. We have disability plans, flexible spending account, retirement plan, and then I'll cover Q&As. Supplemental income. It's also known as income protection. I like to work with examples. So supplemental income, long-term disability, for example, gives you a benefit amount of 66 2/3 of your salary. Obviously, this is something that you need to pay on a monthly basis if you elect it. And let's say that you're sick and you've eliminated any kind of sick time, vacation time, then this is income protection. It kicks in. It gives you a benefit amount on a monthly basis. Now, sometimes there's an option to do either a 30-day or a 90-day. At least this is the one that we have here at FIU. Okay, it varies by employers. So it helps you defray the cost of, let's say you have a mortgage. You have no income. How are you going to pay your mortgage, your groceries, your electrical bill? Okay, that's why it's one of the plans that I have to say we recommend, because it is quite important. But the 30-day elimination, the way it works is that if something happens to you, after 30 days, then that benefit comes to you, that benefit amount. Okay? The other one, the 90 days, it's if you are injured, or let's say you have surgery and you're out for a month and a half, the 90 days will not cover you. But if you are staying longer and you have many surgeries or whatever conditions that you have, for example, after 3 months, then it starts kicking in. You fill out the paperwork, obviously, and then they'll give you that benefit. When you're considering which plan to take, the one that has a 30-day elimination period, obviously it's a better plan, but you're going to pay more in premiums. The 90-day, you pay less. So you need to look, okay, do I use my sick leave a lot? How about my annual leave? So if you think, am I part of the sick leave pool? Because we have a sick leave pool here that allows you to take 480 hours for yourself if something happens to you and you eliminate all of your leave time. So you're thinking, okay, usually I don't take that much sick. I have a lot of annual leave and whatnot. So I'm going to take that 90 days. So consider that. Now, in some cases, examples, you have a mother with young children, that you take a lot of sick time and vacation time, then, okay, well, maybe I'll go in the 30-day, okay, at that time. And then later on, during open enrollment, which is a time of the year where you can make changes to your plans, then you can change and switch to the 90-day if things are a little bit better as far as your time. Flex and health savings account. I'm going to give you a great example. I love this benefit, okay? I have a child that needed braces. And being a benefit person for quite a number of years, I found that out in September. So the first thing I told the dentist, and I know I kind of looked a little crazy, I said, can it wait until January? And the dentist goes, okay, well, you don't want to delay too much, but yeah. And I'm like, okay. Then in January, let me make my appointment. Come open enrollment, I said, I'm going to put $2,000 on the side into this particular account. That $2,000 was distributed in 24 paychecks. Bless you, and again. Was divided in 24 paychecks throughout the year. So it was about $80-something per paycheck that I had deducted, and it's on a pre-tax basis. And as you can see, when we're mentioning pre-tax basis, you see the $30,000, and let's say I did put away $2,500, then I paid taxes on $27,500. Okay? But the part that I like the most about this benefit is that I can use up that money up front. So what happened with me is that I went to the dentist with my child on the 6th of January. My first deduction had not even taken place. And I had this credit card that had that $2,000 in there on the card that I could use up front. So after the visit, cling, the whole $2,000 was taken away. So instead of me putting that on my credit card, because my cash flow struggled at that time, I didn't have to pay interest on that $2,000. It was taken up right away. Granted, I know braces are more expensive than that. But I had to look at the cash flow also that I had in my pay. So I was able to do that. And so this particular benefit you use not only for dental. This is what I use and use it most for, though, the dental. But there's co-pays, co-insurance. By the way, the difference between a co-pay and a co-insurance, co-payments is a flat amount. Co-insurance is a percentage when you have health insurance. Okay, instead of, you can go to the doctor if you have an HMO. Usually it's $20 or $40, depending on which doctor you see. And with Blue Cross PPO, you'll pay a percentage of whatever the bill is. Okay? For prescription, those that have prescription on a monthly basis, so that, especially depending on the insurance that you have, well, actually all of our insurances here is really, you can pay either $7, $30, or $50. So if you have a medicine that is $50, imagine, that's times 12, that's quite a lot of money. So you save on taxes and you can use it up front. It keeps on being deducted throughout the year, but it's a wonderful benefit. Any? Yes?
I'm sorry, I have a question.
The mic? Oh, I was told I could carry it like that. Oh, no, I was told I would pick up like that. Okay, so that's the reason. Sorry. Okay. I think I'm going to need to enter. Can you help me out with that? I'm sorry. Or is it the... Sorry. I think I added a slide.
Is this the one you're on?
No. I think it was the one before that. So that's right. It's... Well, I'm going to continue, if anything, because this is related. So the flexible spending account I was referring to is the first one there, and it's completely voluntary, meaning that you contribute. Now, if you're going to do a health savings account is associated with a high, and the one after that? Yeah. With a health investor plan, which is a very high deductible plan, with very low premium.
Just tell me when you want me to click them.
All right. Those are becoming more and more popular. In the last legislation that we had, they were actually looking at implementing, and if not this year, in the next year, these kind of plans. So we really need to keep an eye on that. We have very good plans here, but those from the companies, actually United Healthcare and all, they have these kind of plans. Many of them do. So a health investor plan is basically a high deductible, low premium, but there's an account, health savings account, that you must have along with the plan. Now here at the university, these plans are supplemented by the state. So the health savings account, you get $500 if you're single coverage, put into that account by the state. You can match it. You can do up to a certain amount that is determined depending on the employer, and I believe that, I forget what the amount is for this one. I think it's $2,500 or something like that. Anyway, so if you look at the health savings account in this case, you have it rolling over from year to year. So if you have a deductible, in this case $1,250, after 2.5 years, it's paid for by the state. That deductible is paid for by the state because it rolls over. I want to go back to the flexible spending account about my dental example. Those accounts, you put money on the side. If you do not use it within that time frame, you will lose that money. So that's the big difference here in between these two types of account. So you need to make sure that you will incur some kind of expenses that qualifies dental or health or whatnot. Okay? Good. Now, the different kind of retirements that we have, defined benefit plan, which is employer-sponsored plan. And this is changing as of July 1st. Anybody here that has attended some of the workshops that we've given? You have? Okay, this is changing now. This is really employer-sponsored plan. Now we're changing because the employees will be contributing 3%. I don't know if you're aware of that, but if you're not, you will have a surprise in your 7/15 paycheck. Okay, 3% of your salary now will go to the Florida retirement system or the ORP, depending on which plan that you have. Okay, and you're promised a benefit for the rest of your life. So it works on the formula, your years of service times the highest 5 years of your salary averaged out, and it's usually a 1.6% that is calculated into that formula multiplied. So it gives you an annual divided by 12 months. That's the monthly benefit amount that you would get for the rest of your life. Okay, that's one that is the most secure, because if you have the other plans, then you need to predict pretty much how long your life expectancy, when you look at it that way, to see how much you would need per month. It's not unlimited, in other words. Okay? The defined benefit plan, the plan that we have, this particular plan, defined benefit plan, which is the pension plan, has a 6 years vesting period, meaning that you do not have access to any of your benefits until you've been working under FRS for 6 years. Go ahead. I know I'm kind of running. Defined contribution plan, it's also an employer-sponsored plan. Contributions are made by the employer, employee, or both. So we do have something called the optional retirement plan. I don't know if anybody here is under that plan. So that will change as well. 3% will be mandatory towards, and right now, actually, the university is footing 10.42%. So come July 1st, it will be 7.42 that we will be contributing, and the employee will be contributing 3% on that side. And then the employee can also voluntarily contribute up to, changing on 7.42% maximum. Okay? For some people, they want to maximize these accounts. There's certain limits, and there's other options that can be done, but the time is kind of short for me to elaborate. I have a lot of information, so if need be, you can come back and talk to me or anybody in the benefits department. Retirement plans also include 401k, 403b, 457. Those basically, the 457, the state sponsors this plan, okay, deferred comp, and they're all tax savings. They all have little differences. The 403b, the 401k and 403b are pretty much the equivalent. It's just that the 403b is government, and the differences is really in the compliance usually area, where there's different requirements that we need to submit. The 457 and 403b, the question I get a lot is, what's the difference? 403b, whatever investment that you make, in order for not to take your money out and not be penalized, you have to meet the requirement of retirement age. Okay? But the 457, after 30 days, you're able to take that money out. After 30 days of termination, you're able to take that money out without a penalty. Okay? That's one of the big difference. 401k, these are in private sectors usually, and you have the different types, traditional, Roth style. The advantage is that the employers may match part of the amount. Sometimes I get a question as to, okay, well, if I open a tax-deferred annuity account, how much are you going to match? Well, we're already contributing to either the FRS pension, the FRS investment plan, or the ORP, so we don't really match on those plans. Okay? So we've already, and the contributions are quite high. So on these plans, it's voluntary, at least here, but in the private sector, they will match. They have the different percentages. It all depends on the company. As I had mentioned, the 403B plan is for public education organizations and nonprofit. Either both employers and participants can make contributions to this particular plan. And the 457, that's straight, at least here, to the Division of Financial, I'm sorry, the title. But it's through the state. We actually have all of that information also on the benefits website here. And it operates, as mentioned here, 401k and 403b, but you know the big difference is the 30-day period that you can retrieve your money without a penalty. Do you have any questions? I know I don't have that much time, and it's a lot of information, but no? Go ahead. The TDA, tax-deferred annuity, a.k.a. 403B, and a.k.a. TDA. So we have three names for the same thing. So you have the investment plan. It's an investment plan, but hang on a second. All right. We have the FRS investment plan, and I got a little confused there. So it's basically investing. That's really like the 403B. It's for retirement needs. Whenever I have orientation, and I mentioned the retirement plans, voluntary retirement plans, it's always a good idea to have something, even as young as you are, to invest something. Even if you're wary of, am I going to lose the money? Or maybe Helen already covered that in here. But that it's important to at least put something away for your retirement. And the advantage to that is that when you retire, right now as a working person, active working employee, you have a certain salary. When you're going to retire, you're not going to have that same salary. Even if you have a pension plan, it's less than that. So your income is going to be less. So if you have some supplemental income through one of these plans and you take it out, usually the tax bracket is lower, so you pay less taxes by taking that money out little by little. Okay, so that's one of the advantages. And then while you're working, then you're reducing your salary for tax purposes. Okay, so that's, whenever somebody says pre-tax, that's basically what it does. That's the benefit to you. Yeah. Oh, wow, that was faster than anticipated. Any questions? Any questions on maybe the changes? If I can... Oh, gosh. The next workshops are the 15th and 17th, and it's 10 and 1 o'clock are in English, 11 in Spanish, and we had Creole, but we not for next week. So it's very important if you can spread the word to your coworkers. I really don't want anyone to be surprised come 7:15 when they get that 3%.
I was going to ask about making changes to your deduction. If that was at any time of the year, you could do that?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no
The
open
voluntary?
enrollment. Yeah.
Yeah, no open enrollment. That's a very good question. Anytime.
Okay, but there is open enrollment period for the
health, dental, and all of that at the end of September, beginning of October.
flexible benefits. Those have to be,
The flexible, and it takes effect on the 1st of January.
and
of
you
every
have to
year.
initiate it during September, October.
Right, during that period that
Okay.
you can make changes. You get packets in the mail for
Right.
whoever has benefit as a benefit eligible employee. You have a packet in the mail from the People First, who administers all of those kind of benefits. Yeah, and it tells you what you have, what your options are, what you can opt for, and the different changes that may occur to your plans.
I didn't ask about switching. Like, what if you decide you want to switch from ORP to FRS or FRS to ORP?
Yeah. ORP is irrevocable. But FRS, if you have the pension or the investment, you have a one lifetime choice that you can switch. But if you do from pension, and there's different things depending on how many years of service that you have. If you switch from pension to investment plan, pension has 6 years vesting, which is the one that if you didn't take any action, you defaulted into. So it's 6 years vesting, and it's more profitable for those that stay for a long amount of time under the FRS plan, retirement plan. If you have investment, then it's a 1 year vesting. Okay, so it all depends on a couple of things, and that's something that you want to do on a one-on-one basis. But you do have the option of switching, but not under ORP. Okay. Is that good?
Thank you very much. Okay, now on to the second half of our presentation. Thank you so much for coming. Do you have all your stuff? I can keep this? Okay. Okay. The second half of the presentation, and I'm going to kind of book through it quickly because I thought I was going to have more time than I do. We're going to talk a little bit about investing for your life stage, and this is something that the previous class asked about, okay? It's like when, how do you know when you're supposed to be invested in certain areas? So, and then we're also going to talk about something called asset allocation. Okay. So now we see two different ends of the lifestyle right here. And really, in reality, these two people should definitely not be investing the same way, should they? Okay? Because this person right here has a very long time to save, and this person right here is probably already taking an income. So the issue is how do we decide where? So the lifestyle approach to investing, it depends on your ability to tolerate risk. Okay, and the risk lessens as you get older. And your risk tolerance lessens because you have less time to make up if the market corrects. If you have a 2008 correction when you're 20, it's a lot different than if you have it when you're 60. Okay, so the question is, how do you determine your risk tolerance? Okay, and this is a big, big question. And one of the first things I ask people when they talk about how do I determine my risk tolerance, I'm going to ask them, what's the deductible on your car insurance? I know that sounds like a funny question. Do you know what the deductible on your car insurance is? Okay, do you know what yours is? 5? You don't know? Nobody knows? Anybody back here know? Mine's 1,000. So you're less risk tolerant than me. Okay, why do I say that? Because you are willing to accept less risk, in other words, money out front, than I am. Okay? So when you think about things like that, how much are you comfortable losing? Okay? So when you think about risk tolerance, and it's interesting, what happens is when we have a very good run in the market like we did in the 90s, everybody says they have a very high risk tolerance. Okay, then we have a correction like we did in 2000 or in 2008, and all of a sudden people have no risk tolerance. Okay, they hit their Maalox moment really quickly. But the bottom line is a lot of the times you have to attempt to keep your emotions out of the decision, and you really have to make an assessment as to where you are in your life and what your risk tolerance is. The second thing I ask people is, if I were to come to you, and I'm your trusted financial advisor, you worked with me for a long time, I've done well for you, and I said, listen, I have an opportunity to invest in an underwater salvage operation with Jacques Cousteau's son, okay, and it's going to be, you're going to get 50% in 6 months, or you could lose all of your money. How much are you going to invest with me? How much are you going to invest? You don't know? Okay. How much are you going to invest, Bijan? Okay. What are you going to invest? Not very much. Okay. That tells you don't have a lot of risk tolerance. He's way more risk tolerant. He's just trying to kiss up to me, one or the other. I don't know. But that's something you have to think about. How much am I willing to lose? If you ever go gambling, if you ever go to the casino, how much money do you bring with you? Not much, right? Okay. So that's what you have to think about when you're thinking of not that investing is a casino, but that's kind of what you have to think about. Now, a lot of people say, how much of my portfolio should be in stocks? Okay, and a good rule of thumb, and Sean brought this up last week, except he did it the opposite way around. 100 minus your age equals the percentage of your portfolio that should be in equity, in stocks. So if you're thinking right now, okay, you're 29, okay, 100 minus 29 is 71. So 71% of your portfolio should be in equities. Okay? And then you see as you get older, then when you get to be really old, like 54, okay, 46% of your portfolio should be in equities. Just a rule of thumb, okay? Now, if you're going to be a do-it-yourselfer, and I think to an extent everybody should be a little bit of a do-it-yourselfer, okay? Because nobody is going to monitor your money as diligently as you are yourself, okay? So don't be the person that ends up in the Bernie Madoff scheme where you turned over all your money to somebody and you didn't question anything that they did. But people have a tendency to do that because they don't want to be bothered, okay? It's like, and it used to be a woman thing. It used to be, my husband takes care of that. And then 3 months later, the husband takes off with his secretary and you're, SOL. So the whole bottom, and guys too, you leave it to the wife takes off with the pool man, So you really have to know what's going on, and there's a couple of different places that you can go. Investopedia.com is a great site. This PowerPoint, by the way, is going to be on our website, like when? Okay, by tomorrow morning. It was supposed to be there, but it slipped off for some reason. So it will be on our regular website, so you can go and link in. Investopedia is a great place if you have, a term that you're interested in looking up, or possibly you want to read like a really an article that's written for a lay person on something like maybe stocks or bonds or something like that. This is very much for the lay person. I've actually written a couple of articles for there, and that's one of the things that they really want. They hesitate to hire academics to write because they feel that the work will be too academic. But I write fairly, easy, so I've done a couple articles there. But you can go in there and you can kind of Google anywhere you want to, and you'll come up with some definitions and some articles and the like. Now, the second is a very interesting site called financialengines.com. And if you really want to be a do-it-yourself, or you can go in there. It used to be free, and now I think it's a minimal charge. But you can feed in all your portfolio information, and they'll give you an assessment. Which, if you're going to decide, okay, I really want to learn this stuff, and I don't think you would be sitting here if you weren't thinking along those lines, this might be something you might want to look at. Okay? Then the third site I gave you is Vanguard.com. Vanguard is a mutual fund company that was established by a guy by the name of John Bogle, who is a big believer in index mutual funds. In other words, not trading your portfolio back and forth, but buying a mutual fund that buys all of the stocks in a particular index and not worrying about it. And Vanguard has some very good, if you're going to do it yourself, mutual funds that have relatively low costs, and they have a lot of very good educational information. So that's another site that you might want to go to educate yourself. Okay, so now, asset allocation is the second thing I want to talk about. And I'm going to bring a little bit of egghead academia stuff in here. And I'm going to talk about a couple of studies and a couple of theories. Okay, in 1952, there was a guy by the name of Markowitz. Okay, and Markowitz established what he referred to as modern portfolio theory. And actually, we still call it modern portfolio theory, even though it's 58 years old. And what modern portfolio theory basically says is that, and it makes a lot of sense, it's one of the few, don't tell anybody I said this, but one of the few theories in academia that I really believe in. It basically says that your return is dependent upon the allocation of your assets, not necessarily the stocks that you buy. Okay? In other words, how you distribute your portfolio. And then this other guy by the name of Gary Brinson in 1986 did the study again. And he looked at pension plans, and he said, what makes some pension plans have higher returns than other pension plans? And it was the allocation of the assets, how much you had in stocks, how much you had in bonds, how often you changed. Okay, how often you reallocated. Okay, so it wasn't so much the individual investments that you did, but the allocation. And the third sentence I have up here might not make any sense, but hopefully after I give you my explanation, it will. Asset allocation is a process of investing that forces us to buy low and sell high. And I'll explain to you why in a minute. Okay. Now, let's say, you inherit $100,000, okay? And you have to sit down and you're going to decide, you're going to go ahead and you're going to invest it all yourself. You've decided, this is going to be my new hobby. I'm not going to be watching The Real Housewives of New Jersey anymore. I'm going to be working on my portfolio. Okay, so you take your $100,000 and you say, okay, I'm going to have a very simple allocation into 5 different areas, $20,000 in each area. Okay, so I spread it between large capitalization stocks. Okay, those are things like Boeing, McDonald's, Travelers, Bank of America. $20,000 in the international bucket. Okay, and that might be things like international companies. Okay, Novartis, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies. $20,000 in the small capitalization bucket, little companies. Okay, little startup companies. $20,000 in fixed income, that's bonds. Okay, fixed income, bonds, things that you buy, hold to maturity, get your principal back and get interest. Okay, and then $20,000 in the cash bucket. And we don't necessarily say cash per se. We say like CDs, checking accounts, money market accounts, because there was a point in time when these actually had a decent return, but the thing now is they don't really have a decent return, but you need to have cash. Okay? So, now you take your $100,000, you divide everything up, $20,000 into each of these buckets. Okay. Now, 6 months later, we look at our portfolio again. Okay? Our objective has not changed. We're still pretty conservative. We're $20,000 in each sector. Okay? 6 months later, our portfolio looks like this. Okay, we've got $27,000 in a large cap bucket, $22,000 in the international, $18,000 in the small, $23,000 in the fixed, and $20,500 in the cash bucket. Okay, we've got to buy and sell. Okay, because we're out of balance. If we look at this, and hopefully I wrote this all down. Okay, your gut tells you that to leave your money in the large cap. Okay, because it's done really well, but asset allocation forces you to sell high, okay? In other words, if we go back and we see here that we've made $7,000 in the large cap funds, okay, our gut instinct would be say, oh, the large cap fund is doing really well, so let's go ahead and hold on to that. Okay, and let me just... Okay, because I think I need a board here to write on. Okay, so if we add all of these up, our portfolio is now worth a lot more than $100,000, isn't it? What is with these things? I need a strong man. I'm getting weak in my old age. Okay, let me see if I did a total here. I didn't, did I? No. Okay, let me go back. Okay, here we go. Our portfolio has grown to $110,500, or 10.5% in 6 months. Pretty good return, huh? Wouldn't you be really excited if you did 10.5% in your portfolio? And a lot of that came from that large cap area, okay? But asset allocation says, okay, you know what? It's time to rebalance. We're out of balance, and I need to sell high and buy low. Okay. So if we take our new total now of $110,500 and we say, okay, we still want to keep 20% in each one of our buckets, we would say, okay, we need to remove $4,900 from the large cap bucket because there's $27,000 in there, and 20% of our new $110,500 is $4,900. Okay, so we're over $4,900. So we sell off $4,900 from our large cap bucket. Okay, now if we look at our international, we looked at the international, we had, let's do these real quick. We had 22,000 in international. Okay, we had 18 in small cap. We had 23,000 in fixed. And we had 20,500 in cash. And we subtract 22,100, which is what our new 10% is. Oops. Okay, and when we do that, when we subtract the 22,100, we see, as I mentioned, that our large cap bucket, we remove 4,900. However, when we look at our second bucket, which is our international, we're below, so we're going to add 100. Okay, once again, we're buying lower. Okay, so this $4,900 that we took out, 100 of it is going to go to international because we're buying low, buy low, and we're selling high. Okay, now the third one, which is the small cap bucket, we're really losing our shirt in the small caps. Okay, and our emotions would tell us I need to get the heck out of here because I'm losing my shirt. Okay, but if you're going to stick with the plan, what you would do is you would say, okay, I'm going to take $4,100 of this money and I'm going to add it to small cap because I'm buying low, right? Okay, now our third one is the fixed income bucket. Okay, we made a little money in the fixed income. We're going to take out $900. Okay, because we're selling high. Okay, and then the final one is we're going to go ahead and we're a little bit low in the cash, so we're going to add $1,600. Okay, because we're buying low. Now, 6 months later, do the same thing. Okay, so what you're basically doing is to see the biggest problem people have with investing is their emotions. Because the average person would look at this, if they didn't have an asset allocation strategy, from their gut would say, oh my gosh, the large cap is doing good. I really want to stay in that. Okay, so I'm going to leave my $2,700 there. And then they'd look at small cap and they'd go, oh my God, I'm losing my shirt. Okay, instead of saying, hey, listen, I've made an over profit, more than I should have in this. Let's take it out and put it into something that I have not made such a profit in. Okay, now you can do this with your TIAA CREF account. Actually, they will do it for you once a year. If you sign up with them, our TIAA CREF is what some of you have for your 403B or your ORP. Okay, it's a tax-deferred annuity. You can do it with any kind of an account. You can do it with an account that you own on your own, not one of your FIU retirement accounts. And they will do this every year for you on your birthday. Okay, you can do it. There's different theories as to how long you should wait. I rebalance my stuff every quarter. I kind of look at it and go, okay, this is high, this is low. Let me do it this way. So do you understand the idea? Do you understand the concept? Does it make sense to you? Yes, no, maybe? So when you asked me, the question you asked me last week, do you see why I wanted you to look at this first? Now, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Do you rebalance that portfolio? Of course not. Nobody does. Okay? And that's the reason what happened. Okay? So what you need to go back, and I'll use you, and I'll pick on you. You need to go back and you need to look at that TIAA CREF, look at your choices, read about them, figure out how much stock you should have, how much bonds you should have. They have a great fixed income account. If you're really scared, the fixed income is averaged 4.5% over a 20-year period, I think. I think right now it's low. It's like 3 3/4. But, I mean, if you don't want to take any risk at all, your fixed income account guarantees you 3.5%. Not a lot, but it beats losing. See, what happens is when somebody says to you, oh, you need to all be in stock, which is probably what somebody said to you, maybe the person that sold you the account, and you put all your money into the stock account and you never looked at it again. And 20 years ago, that worked okay. It doesn't work so good now, okay, because of the way that the market is. So now what you can do is you can use that fixed account if that's comfortable for you. You need to figure out, okay, how much of my portfolio do I want in equities? Okay, do the 100 minus your age. And then in that equity section, you want to look. And TIAA-CREF, for example, has a small cap fund. They have a medium cap fund. They have an international. And the small cap fund is going to be more aggressive than the large. It only makes sense, right? Investing in large companies as opposed to investing in small companies. So what you might want to do is like a typical asset allocation for someone that comes to me, an investor that comes to me, I would say of your equities, of your portfolio, 35% in large caps, maybe 15% in international, and 10 in small or something like that. Okay, but once again, depending. If you're very young, if you're like, 21 years old, you want to go a little more aggressive because even with the dips up and down over the long term, the market does go up. And as long as you are diversified, okay, and as long as you do something like this on a regular basis, you're not going to lose your shirt. Questions? Have I totally confused you, or has the light bulb gone on? Good. Good. Okay. It's very logical. I mean, you don't need to know a lot about finance to understand how that this is an important thing to do. You can't sit back and do nothing. I mean, you can be a passive investor. You can buy, mutual funds that invest in indexes and stuff like that. But you can't completely go to sleep and forget about it. Now, if this is what you might want to do, if you're somebody that you feel like you need a little help, you can go to CFP.com on the internet, and that's the Certified Financial Planning Organization. And there's a link on there that says find a planner, and find somebody that charges on an hourly basis that just gives you advice. A lot of people are trying to sell you their product, and nothing wrong. Everybody needs to make a living, okay? But what you might want to do is go to a financial advisor, go in for a couple of hours, whatever they'll probably charge. They'll probably charge a lot, but you know what? It's worth it. Have them go over your portfolio, review everything with you. They'll usually ask you to fill out maybe like some type of an organizer. They're gonna ask you, do you have a will? Do you have this? How are your assets titled? All this other kind of stuff. It may be worth it. Or do some reading and do it yourself. Okay, it's not, I don't mean to sound snooty, but it's not rocket science. It's very basic. Financial planning is you just have to have a system. You have to say, okay, let me look at what I have. Let me analyze what I have. Let me see where I want to go, and let me see how to get there. Okay, questions? Okay, so if I'm a 35-year-old person, how much of my portfolio should be in stock? Probably 65. It's not exact, but it's close. So 65. So, okay, of that 65, I'm probably going to put the majority of it in large cap, maybe. And, large cap, we're talking about the companies that have consistently performed. Coca-Cola is a really good example. Okay? Coca-Cola has made money year after year after year. I'm looking at them here as they go by. Johnson & Johnson, Kraft. McDonald's. McDonald's has been a stellar performance. Because, when you look at those big cap companies, who in here has not been at a McDonald's? I go more than I would like. I love their little desserts. I feel like I can cheat with them. They're not that big. Different things like that. So those are the big companies, that over the long term are going to do well. Now, that's another thing, long term. You can't look at your portfolio short-term basis. There's something called... There are some people that do this rebalance every single day. Okay? They actually have some type of a system built up, and actually there may be mutual funds out there that you could buy where they would do it for you, but of course they're going to charge you. Okay? But there are some people that do that, and it works, but you know what? For the average person, it doesn't make sense because you have to come to FIU and run our university, so you don't have time for all this stuff. But, maybe at the end of each quarter, what I do is I have everything that I own on Quicken. I think we talked about this the first session, or you can go to Mint or someplace like that. And I download everything. I put it in a spreadsheet. I see how much I have where, and then I figure out what I'm going to change. Okay. Now with the TIAA CREF, it's really easy because there's actually a screen you can go into, and they'll say to you, okay, do you want to change your future allocations? Do you want to change your existing? And you can pretty much do whatever you want. So you've got to be a little bit involved in the process. And you have to be able to pick what's right for you. We have 10 minutes. Any financial planning questions? I'm not going to charge you, I swear. No financial planning questions. So you all now know what you're going to do.
What do you do when, you're younger and you just graduated college and you've got student loan debt? Like, is the priority to invest or is it to pay off your student loans?
Pay off your student loans. Definitely pay off your student loans. The only thing I would do is if you're in some type of an account where you get a match from somebody, always take advantage of that. We don't have that here, but if you were to possibly go to work for, some type of a private corporation, there's often a match, and what they'll do is they'll say, if you put 5% into your 401k, we'll match 5. Well, don't ever give that up because that's free, 100% return on your money. But in general, as far as student loans go and the like, I would definitely get rid of debt. Debt sucks. It really, really does. Because, it's always there. It keeps you up at night and all that other kind of stuff. So I would say to definitely get rid of that first. And the next thing you want to do, if you're at a point where your plan is different from somebody that's like 35 and that's been working for a while. Your plan is you want to get rid of that debt. You don't want to run any credit card debt. Okay? Then you want to go ahead and start thinking about whether you want to go buy a house. Okay? A house purchase is not for everybody, okay, but it's a consideration. So if that's something that you decide you want to do, you start saving for that. You need to put together an emergency fund. I mean, what happens if, God forbid, you lose your job or something like that? You want to try to have about 3 months' worth of living expenses in a money market account somewhere where you can get it, maybe buy CDs at the bank or something like that. Your insurance is very important. Janique talked about the disability insurance. I think that's probably one of the most important insurances that anybody can have, and you should have that right from the get-go. Because once again, if you get sick, God forbid, you're driving home today and you get in a car accident and you can't work for 2 years, which happens, especially on these roads. If you have to go on 95, you're taking your life in your hand. Then you would have 66 2/3% of your salary for as long as you're sick. Which, all those kind of things. You're lucky to come to work at a place like at FIU because we have great benefits. And I think a lot of people don't really take advantage of them. That's why we're trying to do these seminars and the like. But the disability is really good. And, you have a pension. Which pension plan did you pick? Are you married?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were a bud.
I just graduated, so we're kind of like living on a check to check.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. When do you graduate?
I get my master's
In what? No, in what subject? Meteorologist. You're going to be the weatherman. Research. You're going to go over to work at NOAA.
Either, yeah, I wanted to
Oh, really? Very cool. Okay. You know what? Everybody's poor when they're young. The bottom line is you don't want to be poor when you're 50. And if you do the right financial planning now, you're not going to be poor when you're 50. But I can remember when I was in my 20s and I charged my credit cards up too much and I freaked out and I went to my dad one day and I just started crying and I said, I'm doing all this stuff wrong. And he started laughing and he said, do you think you're the only one that's ever been in this position? And he gave me a loan to pay it back. I paid him interest and I never got in debt again. But it happens. But at least you're sitting here and you're thinking about it. So I would say to cover those initially, that would kind of be your strategy. But, right now you really can't do a lot until he graduates. But once you graduate, you may want to go and sit with a financial planner for an hour and just say, this is our situation, this is the benefits that we have. And you have to really start thinking about, do you want to have kids? Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in a house? Do you want to live in an apartment? Do you want to live in Florida? Do you want to live in, California? Whatever. So those are the kind of things you want to make, and your financial planning kind of goes along with that, you know. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Back to that, where you said the 100% and that this much should be in stock. Say that, go back to that again, because I just, at one moment, I thought you meant stock, like, well, when the TIA prep, they lay it out for you, they say, okay, equities.
Yeah.
And then they say they have these other, you know, the bonds or
Yeah.
whatever, the fixed
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And so when you said stock, I thought, okay, stock.
No, there's different kinds of stuff.
Right, and then that threw me. And so what was it again? You want how much?
Well, now this is just an example, okay? Whoops. Hold on, this is just an example. Rule of thumb. Okay, rule of thumb is that, we go back here. Your age, 100 minus your age is how much you should have in equity, big picture equity. Then under the big picture equity, there's big companies, there's small companies, there's international companies. Okay, but it's kind of two different subjects. I know I've thrown a lot at you at once. Okay, but basically, first of all, the first decision we're going to make is how much money am I going to have in equity, which is a little more aggressive than I'm going to have like in fixed income. And that's when you do the 100 minus your age. I'd say that comes up to be, I don't know, like 70. Okay, so you'd say, okay, 70% of my portfolio needs to be in stock. So then you would go back and say, okay, well, you know, how big is my bucket of money? Okay, and of that 70%, it goes like that. Okay, but it's, you know what you might want to do? Go to that Investopedia site and Google asset allocation. There's a couple of really good articles, and actually, I think I put another article on the website about asset allocation. But it's something, and if you understand the basics of it, it's so logical, and it will save you from doing a lot of stupid things, which we all do. But anyway, I'm out of time. Thank you so much for attending. We enjoyed getting to know you. We're going to have some more stuff in the fall. And as long as everybody's on the distribution list, you will get an email. But we've got identity theft, insurances. Anybody have any other suggestions on topics? Okay. No other suggestions? Anybody have any suggestions how we can get more people here? When we have 40 people register and 4 of you show up? Yeah, I don't think we sent the reminders. Yeah. We need to make a note of that. Yeah, the reminders, that's probably good. Because you got a lot of things going on, so it's hard to remember. Nah, this isn't work. This is fun. You know something? You shouldn't expect to understand. If you walk out of here today and you learn 2 things, that's great. You learn 2 things that you didn't know before. You know, I mean, like when I say to my students, I throw a lot at them. They're sitting in the back of the room there. They're getting all nervous because they have a test. But I throw a lot at them. But, you know, the whole thing is if you grab a couple of few things and you really understand those, that's great. You know, so. Well, hopefully we'll see you all in the fall. And thank you so much for coming. Okay, bye.